wonderful class.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome back to another live community classroom with Michaels. My name is Renee from Yarn Inspirations, and I will be here to help with any questions. Today we have Edie Eckman with us to learn to make this Tunisian crochet blanket using Caron Cakes. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat and I will make sure that Edie answers them. So while we're getting ready to kick things off, let us know, is this your first Tunisian project or have you done a few already? All right, over to you, Edie. Oh, I think Edie might be muted.
I'm a pro at this. I know exactly how to do it. From here on out, it'll be perfect.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody. I see a few familiar faces here. So hi to people I know and hi to people I don't know yet. So nice to see you all. So today's project is a Tunisian crochet blanket. We're going to be using Tunisian simple stitch. The cool thing is what this simple stitch pattern does when you use the Caron Cakes yarn. So I'm going to back up so you can see this really, really beautiful. You probably saw the picture, but I think it's amazing and beautiful, and I want to make one. So it's really heavy and warm. So happy first day of fall, everybody. I'm going to switch cameras here so that you can see the close-up of it, and then we'll get right into how to make it. So let me switch out my camera here. Okay. So you can see it's got these color changes that are happening, and it's oriented this way. And we're using 2 balls of Caron Cakes that change color. So that's where you get all these color variations just with 2 balls of yarn. So we're not changing yarn, it's just the same 2 yarns. So the colors that I'm using are the ones called for in the pattern. They are Caron Cakes, what is this? Blue raspberry, and Caron Cakes orange marmalade. So that's what it looks like in the ball, or in the cake, I guess I should say. The other thing you'll need is a Tunisian crochet hook. Now, if you're not familiar with Tunisian crochet, let me explain a little bit. You'll notice that this is just a regular crochet hook with a long cable. You need this longer cable. There's some Tunisian crochet hooks that are just straight, but they limit the number of stitches you can put on because Tunisian is sort of like knitting and sort of like crochet, in that we're going to load up our hook with a lot of stitches that are going to look like knitting stitches, and then we'll take them off. And to do that, we have to have this width of space to put a lot of stitches on. You can either use a Tunisian hook like this one. This is a Susan Bates hook in size 10. Or you can use an interchangeable set. So there are sets that are available where there's a little screw or other attachment here where you attach the long cable to the hook. But I'm using this Susan Bates hook. All right, so with color A, and I think everybody has the pattern. You can see the pattern in the chat. You can link to that if you want to. I'll show you about doing Tunisian simple stitch. So to start with, we're just going to chain with our Tunisian hook. Start with a slip knot on the hook, and then just chain. So if you know how to chain, it's just like a regular crochet chain. Make this chain pretty loose though. Don't make it be too tight because you're going to be working into it later. Let me move that out of the way. So I'm not going to take the time to chain 184 stitches because you know what? We'd be here all day. I will probably get this done in less than an hour because once you see how to do it, you'll see it's just the same thing over and over again. But feel free to ask your questions in the chat. So I'll do a few more here. So it tells me to chain 184 loosely. I may not have done it loosely enough. We'll find out in just a minute. We're going to pretend that's 184 stitches, right? We all have a good imagination, so we're going to pretend that's 184 stitches. Now, here's what's different about working in Tunisian. The first row, we're going to do what's called a forward pass. Now, I'm right-handed. I'm going to be working right to left. If you're left-handed and you don't see how, and you don't understand how to do it, I can try again in a few minutes to do it left-handed, and we can see if I can do it left-handed. I'm going to work into the back bump of the chain. So here's the front of my chain. It looks like a series of V's. When I turn it over, there's a series of bumps. See each of those little bumps? That's what I'm going to be working into. So I'm going to not count this loop that's on my hook, but I'm going to come back here and look at this first bump. I'm going to insert my hook under that bump, just like that. Do a yarn over and draw up a loop. I want to draw up that loop all the way on the shaft of my hook. I don't want to leave it down here. That will be too tight. So I want to make sure that it gets as big as this full distance around the shaft. If you know how to do a single crochet, you might be tempted to do a yarn over and pull it through to do a single crochet, but we're doing Tunisian, so that's not what you're going to do. Leave that loop right there on the hook and go into the next back bump. So go in from front to back and go under that one back bump, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Again, make sure it gets all the way up here. Do it again. I'm loading up my hook with loops, and this first row is the trickiest one. It's a lot harder to do. If your chain was too tight, you're going to have trouble getting the hook into this back bump. So just take your time, but if you're finding that you're really struggling to get these loops, to get the hook in and get the loops up, go back, rip out your chain, and chain more loosely. You can even use a larger hook if you want to. So I'm coming along, I'm making sure that each of those loops is all the way up here. And you want to make sure you're not splitting your yarn, all of the above. So I'll just go as fast as I can here. Again, this part is the slowest part. So ask your questions because I'm just filling time while I'm trying to fill up my hook here.
No questions just yet, but we'll just give them a minute to process and also to watch this because it's very calming to watch this.
Okay, good. Because I'm just having to kind of dig in here. My hook is not particularly pointy, which sometimes a pointier head can help with this, but it's the only time I would really need it to be pointy. Otherwise, I think this sort of more rounded head will be just fine. Different brands and styles of hook have a different tip here, and sometimes that can make a difference in how you're working. Right, as I come toward the end, I want to just recognize what the last bump is going to look like. Again, I'm trying to split my yarn, don't want to do that. Here I have two more loops, but I do not work into the slip knot. When I have finished, I'm going to have 184 stitches. Well, I mean, I'm not going to have 184. I'm going to have however many this is. You'll have 184. Think about this. This is different. If you were doing a regular foundation chain and you chained 184, then you did single crochet across, you would end up with only 183 stitches because you had a turning chain, but we didn't have a turning chain here. Okay, so I chained 184 and I ended up with 184, or actually 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So I ended up with 14 stitches. Now, for a return pass, here's what I do. Now this is just regular Tunisian simple stitch, and then we're going to talk about doing the pattern itself. All right, so I'm going to yarn over. Now this tells me to change with B. Let me go ahead and change, and we'll just do the whole pattern together. Normally, all right, normally for Tunisian simple stitch, let's not worry about the two colors right now. I would do a yarn over and pull it through one. Can you see that's a chain? Yarn over and pull through one. That's a chain one. That's my turning chain there. Then I would do a yarn over and pull through two and do that all the way across. So regular Tunisian simple stitch is going to be yarn over, pull through one, and then yarn over and pull through two. Notice that as I'm doing that yarn over and pull through two, each time I do that, I'm getting rid of a loop on my hook. See that return pass eats up those stitches or those loops. All right, that is a regular return pass when we're not worried about colors, when we're not changing colors. So that's what a regular return pass looks like in Tunisian crochet. But we're not doing a regular return pass, or at least we're changing colors. Let me rip that out, and it's helpful to know how to rip this out. All I'm doing is pulling with my left hand and putting those loops back on my needle with my right hand, because you know what? Sometimes it's just as helpful to know how to rip out. All right, so here I am back at my original 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 stitches. My pattern tells me to take color B. So here I am, it's pink right now. It's that orange marmalade color. So I'm now going to be working from left to right. Yarn over with B and draw through the last loop only. So pull through that loop, just one. That's my edge stitch. Then yarn over and draw through two. So I'm doing that return pass, but I'm doing the return pass with the other color. And you'll see how that changes the look of things. Some people like to do their yarn over like this. Other people like to twist their hook like this to create the yarn over, like that. Also, even though I am a pencil grip holder, usually when I crochet, I'm usually pencil grip. When I do Tunisian, I hold it in knife grip. Okay, so here I am coming through here, and I have done my return pass in the other color. You see what that looks like? Isn't that cool? Now, my second row for my forward pass, I'm going to stay with this color because it's right here ready for me. I don't need to do a turning chain here. Instead, I skip this first loop and I insert my hook from right to left under that vertical bar. See that blue vertical bar? I'm going under that bar. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Again, put it all the way here. And I'm going to do that all the way across. This is much easier than working into a chain. I'm working under that vertical bar and up. What that does is it kind of straightens out the bar and makes it stand up straight. See, it's kind of wonky here, but then once I put it in and draw up a loop, it makes it stand to attention. So I do this all the way across till I get to the last stitch. I'm going to do something a little bit different on the last stitch. When I'm working a much longer piece, these stitches will start coming off and coming onto the cable. All right, here I am at the last stitch. And on the last stitch, I want to put my hook into, let's see if I can pull this a little tighter. I have been going just under one bar here, but in the last one, I want to go under both. It's going to give me a better edge. And it's easy to see here because they're both blue. So I'm going to go under both of those and pull up a loop. Make sure that loop gets all the way up here on the shaft. Don't leave it down here. So there I have done my forward pass. If I get confused about where I am, then I can just look at my hook and say, well, it's full of stitches. Therefore, I'm ready to do a return pass. To do this stitch pattern, I'm going to pick up color A, which in this case is blue, and just leave the other color there hanging out. We'll come back to it later. Start my return pass, yarn over, pull through one. That's the only time I pull through one. That's my turning chain. Then yarn over and pull through two, all the way across. This is where you can really go on autopilot when you're watching the game, whatever. You can just not have to think about it very much. So now those pink stitches are going to show up against kind of a blue background. All right, when I get here, same thing. I'm going to stay with this color and do my forward pass. I'll do one more forward pass and one more return pass. Skip this first one. We already have a loop that goes with that. Then go under the bar, yarn over and pull up a loop. Again, much easier, much faster than working into that chain. So we just zip right across here. Now, if I get interrupted and I have to stop, phone rings, doorbell rings, whatever, I can tell where I am in terms of, am I in the middle of a forward pass or the middle of a return pass? Well, I can see where the yarn is. It's coming out the right side here. And I can see that I have picked up loops along here, but I haven't picked up loops in these pink ones. So maybe that's something you can pay attention to as you work across. You don't want to forget where you were. All right, here I am next to the last stitch. Here I am at the last stitch. I want to go in under two strands right here like that. Yarn over and pull up a loop. It's time to change color, and I know it's time to change color because my other color is waiting for me. I'll be honest, when I was practicing for this, I kept forgetting to change color, and I would start going back with the same color because I just got into a rut, and I had to rip out a few times, which is why I showed you how to rip out, because I had to do it a lot. True confessions. All right, yarn over, pull through one, then yarn over, pull through two. And then I'm going to show you something that tends to happen with Tunisian crochet. Renee, do we have questions?
Hi, sorry, I was talking and I was muted.
We couldn't hear you.
There was a really good question. Are there any books for beginners that you would recommend? This is a question from Allie, and as someone who's penned quite a few books.
Yes, and I don't have a Tunisian book, but there is a good Tunisian book by Tony Lipsy, and I know that my friend Sarah is watching, and Sarah knows the name of the book, and I bet she could put it right there in the chat because I don't remember it off the top of my head. Sorry.
Absolutely, we can drop that. There was a lot of buzz about that book in our world as well.
Okay, yeah. So if somebody can find that one and put that in there, that would be great.
Yeah.
So, any other colors? I mean, colors. I'm looking at the question about colors. So the question, can you use just one color yarn? It will stripe differently. It will definitely stripe. It will be beautiful. You might not have this stitch patterning, this really cool stitch patterning happening, because this is showing the two contrasting colors. They really show up. So you might get something that is not as tweedy, I guess you would say. It would be just more like stripes with a little bit of tweedy, if that makes sense. Thank you, Sarah. It's the Tunisian Crochet Handbook.
Perfect.
Okay, so here's something that tends to happen, and it's not happening on mine yet. I'm getting better at it. I find that the left side, the side with the turning chain, tends to be tight, while this side tends to be loose. You can kind of see it here, but if you're doing a swatch, which I highly recommend that you do, you might find that it's growing bigger on this side than it is on this side. There are a couple of things you can do to mitigate against that. First thing is to work a swatch and learn how to do Tunisian simple stitch. Please, 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 let me switch cameras because I need to get on my soapbox for this one. Y'all have heard me talk about swatching. I know you have. So let me pull out my soapbox and stand up on it while I talk about swatching, especially when you are learning a new stitch, especially a new technique like this. It's really important to practice because you're going to get better at it. You're going to get smoother at it, and your gauge may change. If you think about, if you're a crocheter, you think about what your first crochet looked like versus what your more experienced crochet looks like, it's different, right? So you need to practice, and that's what a swatch is for. You don't want to have to practice over 184 stitches. Practice over 20 stitches and make a little sample and see what you think, and you'll get smoother at it. The other thing that does is it tells you whether your gauge is on and whether you like the fabric that you're creating. You might be a tighter crocheter or a looser crocheter than the designer of the pattern was. And if you're tighter, you don't want to end up with a blanket that doesn't drape. You see how this one's drapey? It feels like a blanket. You don't want to end up with a piece of cardboard because you don't want to snuggle under a piece of cardboard. So you really, really need to swatch and practice and change your hook size if you need to. And that will also help you get comfortable with the Tunisian stitch and help with that adjustment of one side being larger than the other. Okay, now I'm going to step down off my soapbox about the swatching, and I'm going to come back and give you some other hints on this. So another thing to do when you are pulling up or doing this first stitch, it does get looser because if you look, there's a lot more play in it because I'm moving my hook. So I'm going to move it every time I do that. I'm giving a little tug to this. You might want to make sure that that second stitch that you pull up is maybe a little bit tighter. Like maybe you do want to leave it here. And then when you come to the next one, come on up here. So that if this one's a little tighter, that pulls on this one and makes it a little tighter, maybe keeps it from getting out of control. Then you come all the way across. When you get to the other side, let me get to the other side. When you get to the other side, you want to make sure that you pull that last loop up as far as it needs to come. Make sure you are continuing to come all the way up here. Go under both loops here. And make sure that this loop is big enough, but also when you change color, make sure that this chain one that you do, there's a tendency to leave it right there. Make sure that that's big enough too, okay, before you start coming back. So the entire blanket is nothing but forward pass, return pass, forward pass, return pass, changing color every other row. Actually, every time you come to it, every time you're on this side, you're changing color. Then you're going color A, color B, color A, color B. That's all there is to it. But when we're finished, yeah, this edge may be kind of loose. This edge may be kind of tight. We want to put a edging on it. Okay, so we have a border. Whoops, I dropped the blanket. How awful. It's on my floor. Hold on a second.
All good. It happens.
Well, it fell off the chair. I tossed it onto the chair. Okay. So here's my blanket, and here's the border that I'm putting on it. So this is just a simple single crochet, chain one, single crochet border. But hey, Caron Cakes, the yarn colors change, right? So this is just color changing happening. So let's see what that does. I'm going to pick this up and try not to throw it on the floor. And also tell me if there are any questions. I need to grab a drink of water.
All right. Some of these are a little older, so you might have just addressed these in the course of conversation, so let me know. But we had a question from Tracy saying, how long should the cord be that's attached to the hook?
Okay, so the cord that I have here is, I don't know, 2 feet, maybe 18 inches. That's going to be the minimum, because this thing is how far apart, how wide is it? It's approximately 50 by 60. So those stitches really do scrunch up on a hook, on the cable of the hook. You can scrunch up a bunch of them together. You see how they're scrunched up there? So you can get a lot on there. But if you're using, if the cable is too long, it gets annoying, I find. So you may want to play with it a little bit. I like interchangeable hooks, because if I find the cable is too short or too long, it's easy for me to just change out the cable. But you probably want at least 18 inches to 2 feet, because you're going to be putting 5 feet worth of stitches on it, every time you load up the hook.
That makes sense. And so depending on the pattern, they will have different lengths.
Right. So for this pattern, you need kind of a long one. You can always use a long one, but I never want to use one that's longer than I need, just because I don't like that little thing flopping around on me.
Yeah, it probably gets in the way.
Hook. So let me just say, older Tunisian patterns, you would see Afghan patterns that had panels. So there would be like 3 or 4 panels, and that's because Tunisian hooks only came as straight hooks. And so you were limited by the size, the length of your hook. So you'd have to do all your Afghans in panels. And then at some point, somebody invented, they said, hey, why don't we do like a circular needle, but with a cable on the end of a crochet hook? Boom, now we can do whatever width of Tunisian crochet we want. So that was a wonderful invention for Tunisian crocheters. Yep.
Awesome. So we had a question from Deborah. Do you always crochet one when turning on each end?
Chain one when turning?
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah. So that chain one on the left edge for right-handers, you're just chaining one that one time. You're not chaining one on the right edge. You're chaining one on the left edge. It's just yarn over and pull through one, which is a chain. And then it's yarn over and pull through 2 all the way across. So it's just the one time. Now, having said that, we're talking about Tunisian simple stitch. So this is just one stitch pattern in Tunisian crochet. If you are a crocheter, you know there's single crochet, there's double crochet, there's all kinds of stitch patterns you can do. So this is just one type of Tunisian pattern. There are many, many other kinds of Tunisian patterns. If you're a knitter, there's knit, there's purl, and then there's a bunch of combinations. It's the same way in Tunisian. There are many combinations. We're just talking about Tunisian simple stitch today.
Amazing. So there's a whole world out there.
A whole world, yes. And you can do increases and decreases. We're not going there today. This is just about the blanket.
We're keeping it simple.
Right.
So E. Kelly had asked, is the tension the same as regular crochet or a bit looser, ideally?
Right. So I will typically use a larger hook for Tunisian crochet than I would use for regular crochet. So if I were doing this yarn and I were doing, I don't know, it says it's a medium weight yarn, and say I would use maybe a 5.5 millimeter hook, I'm going to use a larger hook for Tunisian crochet because it is going to be a stiffer fabric. You know how you know what, if you don't have a pattern and you're trying to figure out what size you want to use, you're going to swatch and you're going to play with the fabric until you find a fabric you like. And that's how you know what size hook to use. It's what is going to give you the fabric that you want.
Absolutely. I love it. I feel like we are always like advocating for the beauty of swatching, because you want to, you want to not invest too much time. You want to make sure you like what's happening.
Absolutely. And people think swatching is a waste of time. And I think it's absolutely the opposite. It's not a waste of time because it tells you so much information. And people are going to get tired of hearing me talk about it. Renee is a convert, right? Renee's heard it enough times that you're a convert. Yes, yeah.
As someone who got like 70% into a blanket, it was a non-Tunisian project, and realized that I had made a grave error in stitch count. Y'all just swatch, do the work you need to do ahead of time. I don't wish the pain that I had on you guys. So
words of wisdom. Okay.
Yeah. All right. All good for questions for now, I think.
Okay, so let me rip this off that I was doing and pull up my swatch, which I prepared for class. So I did a little work ahead of time, and boom, hey, look, yes, Tunisian crochet curls. So this is a thing that happens, okay? So it's a thing that happens, and it's going to do this, and that's just, you have to know that. You can block it out and it can uncurl a little bit, but adding a border will help a lot. Now, let me see if you can see this. You can see it's a little looser on the right side than it is on the left side. But we're gonna take care of that. Okay, so here I finished my blanket, my teeny tiny little mouse sized blanket. And I put a marker in it, or a holder to hold on to my things here. So when I finish that return pass, I have to do one more thing before I can finish. So here I am at the end of my last row. And that was a return pass. I'm going to do one more forward pass. So it says end with return pass in A, which I just did. Now I'm going to do my finishing row, and the finishing row is again with A, insert the hook into the front loop only, just like we talked about, yarn over and draw up a stitch, drawing through loop on hook like this. Can you see what I did? I'm not collecting loops. I'm basically slip stitching. And what this does is it finishes off. Remember, it's kind of like not finished off looking here, and those pink stitches are kind of wonky. But when I do this finishing row, by basically working a slip stitch, it makes those pink stitches stand up. So here I go all the way across, and I'll do a few more and let you see what happens with it. All right. See how they're standing up here where I've done that slip stitch? So I'll go all the way across here. And when I get to the end of the row, it tells me to fasten off. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go against the pattern. I am not going to do what the pattern says. But I'll explain why. Did y'all know that you don't have to do what the pattern says? You can make another choice and do something different, and nobody's going to come yell at you. That's a thing. Okay. So here I am at the end, and it tells me to fasten off, which I certainly could do because there's my beautiful blanket. But the next thing I'm going to do, it says, with right side facing and US H8 crochet hook, join A with slip stitch in any corner of blanket. Well, tell me where my stitch is. Is it in a corner, and do I have A? I do, don't I? So I'm right there. Now, this hook is not the right size. This is a 10 millimeter, a 10 US 10 6mm hook. So I need a 5mm hook, which, hang on, we got to get that out. Voila, here's my 5mm hook. So all I'm going to do is change hooks. And I'm going to pretend I joined with a slip stitch in any corner, because there I am, it's a slip stitch in any corner. It tells me to chain 1 and work single crochet evenly around entire edge of blanket, working 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet in each corner. So let's go ahead. I'm going to not work that here. I'm going to put 1 single crochet here in the corner, and then just work evenly across. So I can decide where I want that hook to go, and I may have to look and play with it a little bit to see where I want that stitch to go. I don't even know. I can't even tell you. The way I do it is I say, well, let's see what happens if I put it in here, a pink one, a blue one, a pink one, a blue one. Let's see if that's the right rate when I get down here. A pink one, a blue one. So I'm putting it in every color, 1 stitch in each color. A pink one, a blue one. And let's see, is that looking pretty even? That actually looks pretty good. So it looks to me like it's maybe 1 stitch per color. So this is single crocheting evenly along here. Now I'm at a corner. It tells me in the corner, it tells me to put single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. That gets me around the corner. And I usually like to put a stitch marker in that center stitch to help me find the corner. Then I'm going to work single crochet all the way across, all the way around. And I want to make sure that when I do that, that it's lying even. So always when you're doing a border, you want to stop, especially on this first round, this first foundation round, and make sure that you're working evenly, that your blanket is lying flat, and you're going to be happy with it, because this is where the magic happens right here. Here I am in a corner, chain 1, another one, and then start working up the side. So I want to stop each time. This is a good time for me to stop and check. Am I happy with the way that looks? It's still curling. I'll take care of that in a minute. Am I happy with the straightness of this? Does this look like 90 degrees? Does this look like 90 degrees? Am I okay with it? Yes, I'm okay with this. If it's doing this, or if it's doing this, or if it's doing, pulling in like that, you need to rip out and adjust your rate of stitching along here so that it's flat. If you get this, if you mess this part up, the blanket is not going to look right. It's going to be rippled, or it's going to pull in. I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure that you have seen blankets that just didn't look right and you didn't know why, and that's why. So here I am at a corner. Try again here. Do my corner. I can put a marker in there if I want to, and then work in each stitch across. And because I did that slip stitch or that finishing row, I have a nice easy stitch to work into. And by the same token, when I worked that first row, when I worked into the back bump, that left me a nice V to work into at the foundation edge as well. So when I come back around here, I'm going to end up by putting that single crochet, chain one, single crochet, chain one, single crochet in the corner, and then join with a slip stitch right here. So there I've worked that first round. The second round is the same thing. It's the single crochet. I'm going to chain one, then single crochet in each stitch around. And in each of those corner stitches, I marked this one. When I get to that chain one corner, I'm going to work single crochet, chain one, single crochet. So it's helpful to have a marker in each of those just to remind you that you need to do that corner stitch there. And that will allow it to lie flat. Let me get another corner out here. That's what's happening right here. Those increases are happening right along here. And the rest is just a single crochet border that comes out nicely striped because that's what the yarn does. So that's really cool. Okay, questions?
We were chatting a little bit about blocking. There was a suggestion to have a class in the future on blocking, which I think is a great idea. Do you have any tips for blocking? We don't need a full demo, but if you have any ideas.
Yes, so I can talk about that. And also, Renee, you're so good at finding things. I bet while I talk about it, you can find my blog post on how to block knitting and crochet. I bet you
sure can.
I know from experience that Renee is really great at finding things like, I wrote a blog post about that. And the next thing I know, it shows up in the chat. So thank you. Blocking is important for many, many things. So if you think about if you sew, you always use an iron, right? You always have to open your seams or whatever. Like you would never sew something without pressing it at some point. Blocking is not pressing, but it serves the same function for crochet and knitting in that it sets the stitches, it establishes the fabric, but you have to do it carefully and you have to do it appropriately for your fiber. So plant fibers, cotton, linen, and so on can be treated differently from animal fibers like wool, which need to be treated differently from petroleum fabrics like acrylic. And of course, you can have blends of all those things too. So you need to choose your blocking method according to your fiber. There is a lot to say about that, but generally speaking, there are three main ways of blocking that I think of. One is what I call wet blocking, where you just get the piece wet, you can wash it, get it wet, gently squeeze it out, not wringing it, but gently squeeze it out and lay it flat to dry. And you might pin it to shape if you need to. So things like shawls or lace open work needs to be blocked strongly to open up those yarn overs or those holes to make it lace. You can do steam blocking, which works particularly well with animal fibers like wool or wool blends. And you can also just do damp blocking, where you lay the piece out and spritz it with a plant mister or something and let it dry. You again may want to use rust-proof pins to lay it out to block it appropriately. With acrylic yarn, be really, really careful not to kill it. That is an actual term that we use. When you kill yarn, you are melting the yarn. If you think about these synthetic fibers can melt because they're made of chemicals, I guess, and they melt. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, can you tell? But if you press an iron on this yarn, you're going to change, you're going to melt it, you're going to change the nature of the fibers, and there is no going back. in the same way that you can inadvertently felt wool and there's no going back, it doesn't mean you can't wash wool. It doesn't mean you can't block acrylic. It means that you need to do it appropriately for the fiber. And in that link that Renee probably found, maybe, there is also a link to a YouTube video where I show you what happens when you kill acrylic. I killed acrylic on purpose to demonstrate what happens. So you can block acrylic. You just need to know what you're doing. Okay, how was that for the 5-minute lecture on blocking when I could write a book about it?
That was an excellent lecture.
Right?
Excellent lecture. And yeah, very good to advise folks on best practices with acrylic.
Right, right.
Big time. Okay, so I'm just going through the questions here.
Ooh, I see Jennifer says she's dropping stitches on her swatch. Make sure that you are working into the very last loop. You know, when you on the forward pass, make sure you're working under that very last loop, and make sure that as you work under each of those vertical bars, you are getting every single vertical bar. So because you're working on a swatch, you can easily count your stitches. So count the number of loops you start with. And then when you come back and do your next forward pass, count those number of loops. You should keep the same number of loops all the way across. Okay.
Amazing. And I think that's the bulk of questions. Does anyone have any other questions for Edie while we have her? Well, that's it for a bit, so Edie can take a drink.
All this talking makes me thirsty.
I know. Oh. Chiva said, do you carry the yarn up the sides?
So in this case, yes, we are carrying the yarn up the sides, but it's not carrying it much. I mean, because you're just, you know, it's like every other row, there's not a lot of carrying going on. And of course, you're not carrying it, you know, back and forth. It's just a little bit up the side. I see somebody wants to see the other side of the Afghan. So let me switch cameras and well, let me see, maybe I don't have to. So this is the back side. Okay, so when you work Tunisian, you always have the right side facing. So here's the right, but this looks awesome on both sides. There's the right side. And there's the wrong side. It's just striped. So also awesome, I think.
It looks great on both sides.
Yeah, this is one I don't want to.
You don't have to like pose it as strategically.
If it's, you know, if it seems slow to get back to Yarnspirations, that it may be because it stayed at my house longer.
I wouldn't blame you. Do you have any thoughts on if you wanted to change the size of the blanket a little bit, how would you go about modifying that? Because we talked about, you know, you don't have to be chained to the pattern, you can modify.
So this stitch pattern works with any multiple of stitches. So you can make it whatever size you want. So you look at the gauge. Well, first of all, you do your swatch and you measure your gauge to make sure you've got the same gauge. And then you just do the math. So let me see what the gauge says. All right, it calls for 13 stitches equals 4 inches. So 13 divided by 4, that's 3.25 stitches per inch. So then you would make 3.25 times however wide you wanted it to be. So say you wanted it to be 18 inches wide, that's 58.5. So you might do 59 stitches. So it's great because the stitch multiples work. You don't have to worry about stitch multiples. It works with any number. So you just chain however many you need to and work on that number of stitches. So super, super easy to adjust to whatever size you want. If you're doing a narrower piece, you don't need as long a cable on your hook either. So
There were some questions about color work. Could you just use the Caron cake and let the yarn change the colors?
absolutely. You're just going to get wider bands of color, and you're not going to get that sort of interspersed, where you can really see the vertical line with the background color. Let me show that again. You're going to get a not as patterned looking effect. So instead of having like the yellow show up against the purple and the purple show up against the yellow, you would just have, go orange. That's orange. Sorry, I don't even know my colors. You're just going to have it stripe up like in solid stripes. So it's just going to look different, but you certainly could use that. If you don't like this, you could certainly do it the other way. And every now and then you would have a difference like this, because as the yarns change color, it would start showing up just in the transition. So you can certainly play with that and see what happens.
Be the boss of your own crochet, as Edie Eckman always says.
That's right. You can be the boss. You can do whatever you want. There are no crochet police. Nobody's going to come after you. You know what? Even if you don't swatch, I'm not going to come to your house and yell at you. So
yeah, we just want to set everyone up for success.
Right. Well, that's all I have to teach you about Tunisian simple stitch, but it sounds like people are getting it pretty well. So you can always come back and watch the video. I think it's posted a couple of days later. And I will try to remember to post that on my website, on my social media as well. So you can find me everywhere. I'm Edie Eckman everywhere. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm at edieeckman.com. And you can also subscribe to my newsletter. If you go to my website, you'll see to subscribe to my newsletter. And because I send out weekly emails with deals on yarn and yarn related projects. I'm going to put that in the chat just because I didn't give you that, Renee. And then I have a monthly newsletter as well. So I hope that I will see everybody, and Renee will tell you how to share your projects with us if you make this. I'll let you do that, Renee.
Amazing. Well, you're doing an excellent job. Right. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. This was wonderful. I hope we all learned enough to kind of get us going into some interesting places. You can find all kinds of resources with us, with Michaels, with Edie. We're all here to support you on your Tunisian journey. So please don't forget to share your work. We'd love to see it. We'd love to see the things you're working on. You can share that with the hashtag #MakeItWithMichaels and hashtag Yarnspo, YARNSPO. And just a reminder that you can find more classes on michaels.com and the recording of today's class at michaels.com/classes. Or you can go to their YouTube channel. If you go to the video section just a few days afterwards, you should be able to find the class. And you can revisit all of the things you learned. All right, that does it for us. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye, everybody.